Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So as promised last week, I'm going to take a look quickly at the numbers that have come in for April, and then we will have a peek at what happened last week like we do normally. So looking at the stats for April, we knew this was not going to look great. I do think people need to take these with a grain of salt. Obviously, this is not really reflective of a regular market, but let's just look at what happened year over year. So in April 2019, we had 92 units sell. And in 2020, we had 35 units sell. So that is a 62% decrease, which isn't fantastic, but I do think it's still good that we had 35 units move in the conditions that we were in. The thing that I really want to talk about, because everyone's just sort of talking to me about house prices, is I will discuss the average price point, but then I want you to kind of not panic because I don't think it's reflective of the overall market. So our average price in 2020 was $777,000. And this year it was $710,000, which is about a 9% decrease. I do think if you look back on the sales, it makes sense why we're seeing a lower price. Of the 35 sales that we saw, only 5 of them were over $900,000. So when we looked at April 2019 numbers, we really had that mixed balance of our market where every price point was moving in the way that it normally does. But like we talked about almost every weekly market update, our higher end price point was basically dead. We sold a lot of units under $750,000, and that of course is going to bring down the average price point. I think when you look at, a bungalow on Delrex to what it sold in 2019 to 2020, we're definitely not down 9% on something like that. But I do think those higher price points not moving is definitely what's driving that. But to say prices are down 9%, I definitely don't think people should freak out because I definitely do not think that that's the case. We still in April saw some multiple offers, some things going over asking. I just think the biggest driver was how saturated and quiet our upper price points were. So when you see these stats come out, yes, it is technically our average price, so we have to look at that, but I don't think everyone should just assume that they've lost 9% on the value of their house. Another thing, like our higher price points like Rule, Glen Williams, and Limehouse all saw 0 sales in April. So that's another thing. Usually those places that have the higher price points, they help bring those prices up too, and we saw no movement in those areas. I think overall for what April was, it was okay. Like it still moved and we still had properties selling. So let's just take that as a silver lining for all the chaos that was happening in April. I think just April 2020 is gonna be known as like the worst month in real estate history. So hopefully the momentum we're feeling and the positivity we're feeling is going to really roll into the May numbers. But with that being said, the May numbers so far are not fantastic. I'll go over what happened last week. So in Georgetown, we had 6 properties sell, which is down from last week, but there are a lot of properties that went into the sold conditional status. None of the 6 were over asking, but I do know that a few of the sold conditionals got multiple offers. So like I said last week, the market just feels like it's picking up a bit just from a business perspective. So I think that we may see some over asking properties coming back. There were 14 new listings that went on MLS last week. 3 of those were relists. We did have some also terminations and suspensions last week. So we're up on listings, but some properties took themselves off the market and some were relists at lower prices. In Acton, 5 properties sold. None were over asking, but 5 properties in Acton is a good amount of movement. They did have 5 new listings, so things are sort of as they've been all month, just kind of staying kind of level in Acton. In the rural market, we had one property sell, which is good news for the rural market, but we did have one new listing. So again, inventory is pretty balanced there. Glen Williams had one new property listed, but no sales still, so that inventory is continuing to climb there. And Limehouse, no movement in terms of new or sold properties. So in Georgetown, we have 70 active listings this week, which is up a bit from last week, but down from some of the weeks we had at the start of April. So that is good news. Like I said last week, there are some decent properties on the market right now. A couple I had my eye on last week did either sell or are in sold conditional status. So people are realizing that there's some good properties on the market that you might not have a chance when this market picks back up to scoop up. Not that you're getting like huge deals on them, but like there's just less competition, and yeah, I think people are just feeling a little more confident in their finances and the real estate market right now. Acton has 17 active listings, which is down a bit, so that's good news for them. Glen Williams sitting at 9 listings. Limehouse is still at 2. And in the rural market, we have 26 listings. So inventory is staying pretty steady right now. We're not seeing huge jumps, so that is a good sign. So that was a lot to take in for this week. Yeah, my main takeaways is like, I don't think what we saw in April or the stats that we pulled from April are gonna be reflective of the actual market. I think we are going to see a better month in May. It already feels like different. Hopefully with the progress we're making with COVID and businesses reopening and everything, we can see the real estate market improve in May. That is my hope, and I do feel like that is a realistic expectation. I just feel a bit more positive about May. Even this week, we were shared stats from our brokerage on showings and listings, and the first few weeks of April were really bad, very low numbers, but we have seen a climb in the last few weeks. And I do just think that's gonna continue. So come back next week and hopefully my May numbers are looking a lot more positive. Have a great week, everyone.